right, so thank you so much for joining us for Inside GCT, Inherit the Wind edition. Germantown Community Theatre is so thrilled to be able to put on this production of a literary classic using an all-youth cast. And so what an excitement that is. And we have 3 guests with us today. We have our director, Ryan Kathman, and 2 of his actors that I will let him introduce to us, just to put him on the spot. So, Ryan, before we do that, will you just tell us about yourself and give us a quick introduction, and then I'll let you introduce your actors to us.
Okay, sure. I'm Ryan Kathman, and this is my 4th time getting to direct at GCT, which is very exciting. I love coming out here. I've been teaching at St. Benedict High School, theater and English for, this will be my 6th year coming up. And I have a wife and 2 kids, and I enjoy long walks on the beach, which is actually not true at all. I don't prefer it. But to my left, I have Gabby Velasquez, who is a former student of mine. I only say former because she just graduated, which, yay, for finishing high school. And she is playing Helen Drummond in this play. And if anybody out there is familiar with the play and is a big fan of it, you may say, well, that's not the right name because it's actually Henry Drummond in the play. We have Helen Drummond, and we're very excited about that change. And to her left is Ben Chappell, also happens to be a St. Benedict graduate just recently, and he is playing Matthew Harrison Brady. You get 3 names when you're very important or you are an assassin, apparently, which is not the case this time. But these are the 2, really the 2 principal roles in the show. They're the 2 opposing attorneys fighting it out in this small town trial of the century.
Exciting. Well, let's give each one of you an opportunity to tell us something about yourself, since we know that you're recent graduates and that you have known Mr. Kathman for a while. Go ahead and embarrass him equally if you'd like. But Gabby, start with you. Tell us something about yourself.
Well, I don't have a wife and 2 kids, but this actually isn't my first time playing a lawyer. That was meant to be man. He likes to cast me in roles that are supposed to be male, so this is, I do it all the time. It's a lot of fun, and I love acting, and I wanted to finish my time here because I'm about to go off to the University of Missouri to study journalism.
Oh, exciting.
And I wanted to wrap up my time here doing a play, and bonus, it's directed by the guy who has directed me in way too many productions, so it was nice to do.
All right, well, that's great. Ben?
Well, I happen to have a wife and 3 kids, so take that.
Acting. Brilliant.
As a recent graduate from SBA, I'm going to Rhodes next year, and I'm very excited to continue on in the theater. This show has affirmed that I want to keep doing this. So
that is great. Well, that's great. Well, welcome all of you, and thank you. And Ryan, this is not your first time on the Inside GCT stage.
No, I'm an old pro now.
That's right. This is your,
how many?
This is number
2.
2. Yeah, 2.
That's
So the first time was all failure, and now it's going to be absolute all success.
So far, I think we're repeating.
All right.
That's okay.
It's okay, you have us now.
That's right. We aim low here.
That's right.
In this program. So why don't you all tell us about the show? For anyone who doesn't know Inherit the Wind, tell us what we're going to see when we come on the 31st of July, opening night, to see the show.
Gabby?
Oh, always trust Gabby to do a lot of talking.
Much.
Inherit the Wind is a legal drama that takes place in Hillsborough, Tennessee. It's based off of the Scopes monkey trials. It even has a lot of the dialogue is taken directly from the transcript. And it's basically, in a way, it's creationism versus evolution in a way. But Matthew Harrison Brady comes in to prosecute Bertram Cates, played by Jonathan. He's in there. And he is in prison for teaching evolution in a high school. And they bring in a lawyer from Chicago, Helen Drummond, me, who is basically defending his right to teach evolution, even though there's a law against it in Tennessee. And it's really complex. There's a lot of different things at work. There's even like a bit of like states versus federal courts and all that stuff mixed in there. So, your turn, Ben.
Well, Gabby, you gave me so much to speak about after
You're
that
welcome.
great synopsis. The biggest thing for me would be that it's a way of describing old style thinking and development. It's interesting that we were supposed to be playing old men, but we're both these youths who've grown up and see and we see the entire point she's trying to make. But the whole point is that some people do believe in this fundamentalist idea, and where do we stop? If we're going to go forward, do we respect this, or do we not move forward to keep our past, and how does that stand?
Yeah, I think, some of the big questions that it brings up, I think it's occasionally been mischaracterized, the play, as in some way anti-religious, and the playwrights themselves are adamant that is not their intention, and I think that is proven through how sympathetic they've written the character that Ben plays, who represents that belief that evolution at this time in history shouldn't be taught in the schools. It's really about freedom of speech. It's freedom of thought, freedom of speech. I think that's the crux of the whole thing, and that when that freedom intersects with our very long-held, deeply felt, beliefs and traditions, how do you reconcile that? Can they be reconciled? When the fact that you've got science telling us one thing and religion telling us something else, can they coexist? And I think in the 90 years, because as it happens, I think July 20th was around July 20th was like the official anniversary of the end of the trial 90 years ago this year. In that time, I think we have not only, of course, is evolution freely taught in our science classes, but even at a private school like the one these kids went to that I teach at, it's taught. We've found a way to kind of, it's still a controversial subject. It's still something that people debate and argue about, but I think we've come a long way in terms of at least understanding that we can kind of have a foot in both worlds and still be, free and able to have both freedom of religion and freedom of speech and have them coexist. So anyway, that's the play.
I want you to talk a little bit more. You said the word controversy, and that this show in and of itself is controversial, and then certainly the decision that we at GCT made to cast it with you, with an all-youth cast. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, really what I want to do, and I've wanted to do since we started this, is to ask you what made you guys decide to do this play. But I mean, let me just say, and maybe you can answer that, that is absolutely what intrigued me about it when you first talked to me about it, the concept of doing this with an all-youth cast. I'd be excited to be involved with this play as an actor, a director, or a stagehand in any way, because it really is one of my favorites. I mean, I just think in terms of just works of literature, it's up there as far as American drama with Death of a Salesman and Streetcar Named Desire and all those things, which is my way of saying that anybody who's a fan of great drama should come see this, because you just don't get that many opportunities to see something like this performed. But having said that, so yes, it is a very exciting and bold and interesting choice to not only do this show, the fact that it can still be considered controversial, that there are absolutely people in this city, in this state, and all over the country who would still be upset by things that are in this play that was written in the 1950s and is about something that happened in the 1920s. But I think the fact that we have young people doing it, we have ages 6 through 18 in this cast, and yes, some of them are playing characters who are supposed to be well into their middle ages, and some of them are playing 6-year-olds. I think I hope that what we have done with it and what comes across is that ultimately, you can say this play is about religion or science or freedom of speech or all that stuff, but it ultimately has to do with, I think, education and young people, and the fact that one generation eventually has to give way and say, eventually this is going to be their world, these kids that we're teaching. And so are we going to be able to let go of some of the stuff that it's difficult for us to let go of because we see that they have a new progressive way of looking at the world. Every generation has a new way of looking at the world, and things are gonna change. So accepting change, I think, is another huge theme in this. It's got lots of themes, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that these are young people telling this story, that a lot of that comes out, I hope.
Yeah, can the both of you speak to that? Have you encountered the controversy of you being in this show, or that the show is being done at all?
Very directly. I have family who are not going to come see it. It's so controversial, but at the same time, being 18, we're about to go to college, and I'm registered to vote now, which is weird to think about. But when you think about taking control of your world and saying, what kind of world do you want to live in, and having that power to affect change. Now that we're growing up in a way, we're really seeing that directly, like, oh, I can definitely do this now. And looking at that and thinking, well, maybe I can't. Having to kind of face that, like, through this play is kind of very interesting, and the idea of change, about to go off to another state, change, and dealing with that kind of thing and finding the harmony in, like, the old and the new. I don't know, this has been good for me. I have, like, very deep thoughts after rehearsal, after doing this show, so it's definitely really interesting, and I love that we have so many young people doing this, because I really like seeing all these younger actors really step up to the plate and think about these important things and bring that into their characterizations of all of their characters. It's been really nice to watch.
I've had the opposite situation from Gabby, actually. I have more people in my family that are on the fundamentalist is barbaric and it's not the way of things. And having to play a character that is against what I've been
Mr. Physics major.
feeling my entire life brings about this interesting conflict within me, because I'm going off to college, I have to start thinking about things, and I've just come from a Catholic school, and, well, how do I feel about everything? This show is the epitome of that. We all have to give way in some way, and doesn't matter which way you think about it, as long as you think about it, and I guess that's what's important.
To me, it's what makes it a really well-written play, is that it's no simple one thing. It's not fair to say this is this is a great piece of propaganda for progressive thinking and for evolution, and science is better than, and we should all get rid of religion. It's not that, and it's definitely not the opposite either. That this is or not just purely saying religion is bad or anything like that. There's many characters, not just his, but other characters who demonstrate that the real message to me is to, as Ben just said, as both of them really just said, to be able to think for yourself, to be able to make up your own mind. There's a major character, Rachel Brown, who is a preacher's daughter, who by the end of the play has just really come to that realization. She doesn't know that, she knows in fact that after reading Charles Darwin that she doesn't like him. She doesn't like that book. She just doesn't really like to think of the world that way, but it started her thinking. That's the point. It's just started her making up her own mind, making her own decisions, and I think that's ultimately what it is. That it's a coming of age story for like a whole town, basically.
Well, to answer your question,
yeah, please.
that you posed back, when we came to you almost a year ago and discussed this possibility, education is one of our mission components at Germantown Community Theatre, and the thing that I loved about this piece of work is that it really is focused on an educational environment that perhaps went slightly awry. Right. And in that going awry, it forced people to examine things. And isn't that what we should do as an arts organization? Isn't that something we should do is, as Shakespeare himself said, hold the mirror up to reality. Shouldn't we show what is there? And then in looking at it and in thinking of casting with an all-youth cast, the story focuses around this teacher and what happened to him and the community's reaction to him and the state's reaction to him and the attorney's reaction to him and some extent to what the children and the students' experience was. And we thought what a great way to tell that story than through the eyes of those children caught in the middle. So let our children tell them. So that's I think you've done a really great job of doing that in terms of including the set that we have around us.
Yeah, Yeah, you want me to try to explain
Sure,
this a little
please.
bit? Because I was going to say, just piggybacking on what you were saying, that if I had one small criticism for the play as it's written, I do think the element of the kids, the youth, the students themselves gets lost a little bit. They're not major characters. They,
Right.
they pop in and out here and there. But this, choosing to go this direction really helps to highlight them. You can't help but remember them the whole time because everyone playing the roles. So that's what kind of got me thinking. One fun thing about directing at GCT is always you're forced to be very creative in terms of the space and working with the space. And I mean that wholeheartedly. You know, I don't, when I'm lucky enough to do something here, I don't think, oh man, you know, I don't have any wings. There's no backstage. There's nothing. You know, what are you gonna do? There's no fly system. No, it's actually fun to make something work in this space. And this is, like a lot of plays, something that has multiple locations. You know, it changes locations and stuff. So we knew we needed to deal with that in some simple, hopefully artistic way. So anyway, what we decided to try and do is to actually create a classroom. This is not meant to look like a courtroom at all at the beginning of the play. I hope when audiences come in with the way we have these acting blocks and everything, all they're going to hopefully think is this is a classroom. If anything, it looks more like a classroom from the middle of last century, like 1950s area. And maybe something that stands out a little bit, and I think it was a cool idea that our technical director had, is the chairs that are hanging around the wall and everything. And that's good because it gives us a sense of kind of an abstract feel, which our production is. So we start in a classroom. We start with the cast as students. We have one cast member who is our teacher. And then through a very brief prologue, we see that they are basically going to perform this story. They're going to tell this story. So it's a little bit of a play within a play, frame story kind of thing. You know, hopefully once the story starts going, you forget that they were students a little bit and that now they're becoming these characters. But it's interesting. I hope it's going to, you know, for me, just watching it, it's really come together well that as I'm watching this courtroom drama play out, most of the play takes place in a courtroom. It's amazing how the courtroom and the classroom blend. You know, you just start to really see the similarities and the parallels of what happens in our society in a classroom and what happens in a courtroom, and that there's some very heady, very, you know, ethical and moral dilemmas that get dealt with in both of those spaces. And so we're kind of doing that here on the stage. And so it's been a happy, I guess, serendipitous thing that I think it's worked out.
So my question to you both as actors, talk to us about the process as an actor, taking on this very adult subject matter, very challenging script, because you all have a lot of lines, a lot of lines. So just walk us through the process. What has that been like? And you can embarrass your director too along the way if you'd like.
Doing a good job of that myself. But, yeah.
Well, I guess I'll go first. It started with staring at the script and going, why? Because I didn't realize, I tried out for a smaller part. I didn't think I was going to get the role of Drummond. I completely forgot. He had mentioned it to me when he pulled us up in class and said, hey, I'm directing this thing if you want to audition for it. I completely forgot he was going to gender swap it. And so I tried out for smaller parts, and I was fine with that. And then suddenly I get a call, and they say, hi, you've been cast as Helen. And I'm like, so I pull up the cast list, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, huh? There's no Helen on here. So I start freaking out. I text our stage manager, Maddie, and then I email Mr. Kathman in the most non-awkward way possible, because then I looked at the name Henry, and I'm like, no. And then he emailed me back, and I'm like, oh, this is a big part. And Ben texted me, he was like, I'm Matthew Harrison Brady. So I pulled up the script, and I start looking at it, and I highlight, and I keep highlighting, and I keep highlighting, and I just go, I'm going to be sitting here for hours just staring at my script, which is kind of what I ended up doing. Because when it gets to that many lines, you just have to take it bit by bit and find those beats, which kind of helps when you're performing it off book, finding those beats, especially there's a scene where it's just us going back and forth, and you have to find those beats because it's such a long scene, and you have to find ways to keep it interesting. Yeah. When all you want to do is just go, okay, what's my next line? What's my next line? And the interesting thing about playing a lawyer is that your lines come out of nowhere. You're asking questions. when you're the person on the stand, you can kind of go, okay, well, they asked that question, so my answer is going to be either this thing or this thing. But when you're a lawyer, you have to go, okay, how about this new thing and this new thing? So you have to like just put it into beats and pray you choose the right beat to go to.
No.
My story also begins with a phone call. I got this call saying, you got the role of Matthew Harrison Brady. And in my mind I go, I didn't audition for that. What? Sure, I'll accept it. And immediate internet research goes, oh, this is gonna be fun. So Gabby and I went to our local library. We checked out the actual script before we even got our manuscript.
I checked it out for him. He didn't have his library.
Yeah. And
I've gotten to observe their friendship over 4 years, and it's actually, there's a very nice parallel in terms of kind of a friendly combativeness that they've always had. So, anyway,
so we looked over it, and time went by, days happened, and the show began to start. And yes. And I really started to get into this character. I was bored for the beginning of the summer, and then I started reading this, and I got intrigued. I got interested in this. And so a couple of movies watched on YouTube, and interviews read, watched, and deep thought led to what I am now. So there you go.
It's fun playing these roles that have, Matthew Harrison Brady and Helen Drummond have a very long friendship. They have a really long history. And it's interesting, playing off of that, because Ben and I have been friends since middle school. Mm-hmm. And in a way, Mr. Kathman brought this up during a rehearsal. I'm more of a Brady and he's more of a Drummond in actuality, because I'm the loud, obnoxious one, and he's the deep thinker who's usually right. So, so it's interesting kind of switching roles on stage and playing around with that dynamic.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things I like to ask when we do Inside GCT is, tell me a moment in the process thus far that has been your favorite. Either it was funny or the light bulb came on. Just let me hear your favorite. A favorite. It doesn't have to be the favorite, because I know I have to qualify that for Mr. Kathman, because he'll sit there and think of the favorite. So, a favorite moment of the process.
I'll start on this one because I just
please.
One of my favorite moments actually happened during one of the rehearsals recently, where we were just beginning to get off book, and I was scrounging deep in thought, what is my line right here? And in the middle of it, I just shout, I don't know. Oh my God. And it turns out 2 lines later, my actual line, which I thought it was I don't know. And I was just trying to go off any instinct I have of what this scene was, and it was the realest moment in theater I've ever had.
Funny enough, one of my favorite moments, it was so funny. There's a scene at the end of the play with my character and Hornbeck, where Hornbeck is why? And that's my cue. I cannot get that scene down for my life. I've gotten it down better, but in that moment, she's just why? And it's super dramatic, intense, and I just go, I don't know. And then the room kind of breaks, and I'm just I ruined the scene. I did this, but I felt really intense about it, so that's good. And the lucky thing is that I've known Maggie for a while, so she didn't get too upset with me, even though I ruined her dramatic moment. But I don't know, it was a good bonding moment.
Well, the whole process has been a lot of fun for me. I will say the favorite moment, no, a favorite moment was, I wish, I'm hoping that we will actually still, even though we're about to go into tech week, I'm hoping we'll still have time to do something more along these lines. But one night we did get a chance to set aside some time where I worked with these 2 and 3 more of our kind of principal characters. The people who played Kate's, the teachers on trial, Emma, who plays Rachel, the daughter of the preacher, who also kind of loves Bert. There's a little side romance that they kind of threw in there that wasn't in the real Scopes Monkey trial. And then Hornbeck, who she mentioned, who is a journalist, another gender flip we did, where it was male character, we've gone female. Anyway, we did some improvisation. We did some exercises. We worked on some exercises having to do with movement. But we did some improvisation, and they don't know this, but I'll go ahead and announce it publicly. I was flying by the seat of my pants. I hadn't really planned exactly what we were going to do for the character work that night. And boy, they really took it and ran with it. It was a lot of fun. We improvised a lunch date between Brady and Drummond, where Brady was trying to order for Drummond, and Drummond was trying to tell Brady he needed to order something different than what he had, and it was just this whole. And then we had a similar lunch date between Bert, Kate, and Rachel, where Bert was changing his mind all of a sudden after having always ordered the same thing, and it was really bothering Rachel.
Italian,
so it had this really kind of parallel to what happens in the story, but man, they really rolled with it. And of course, Hornbeck was our very snooty, cynical waiter the whole time, the whole time, which is what she is in the show too. Not a waitress, but very cynical and condescending. So it was just a really fun time. I think it was a nice kind of release after we were all kind of very intense in rehearsal and stuff. And I feel bad for the rest of the cast not getting to do it yet, but we're going to try and find some time where we can, I hope. But yeah.
I love improv.
Okay, so before we get into these famous questions, I know you love them. So
my answers are going to be.
So Ryan, talk to us about the rest of the cast, because it's a pretty large cast, right?
Yeah, I was really surprised. I guess I'd always kind of thought of this play as being so much about these two characters and a couple others, but as written, you could easily have 35, almost 40 people in this if you wanted to. We've got a nice tight 22 in ours, 22 people in the cast. Because we have a smaller cast than what's kind of called for, I'm really actually glad we did, because it means that I think everybody really gets their moment to shine. I mean, I hope so anyway, and I feel like everybody's doing that. Many people are actually saying the lines of 3 or 4 different characters that are in the script, and we've given them their lines. It allows for much more of what I feel like is an ensemble ethic. We have the small space. Everybody's on stage for the trial scenes. Everybody's on stage for a couple outdoor scenes, like a prayer meeting and a picnic greeting for Brady's entrance and stuff. And so I've been saying all along, and they can answer this for me, the most important character in the play is
the ensemble, the audience,
the crowd, the group of people who are there watching the trial, who are there. It really is the most important character. We've been working really hard on response, because it's so much about what this story is as they are changing along, some of them changing their minds, some of them fighting hard for what they believe in. You see this clash between the two sides. So it's been great. Yes, it's kind of a star vehicle for these characters, but man, everybody has to pull their weight in this. You can't be a wallflower just sitting back there taking up space. Everybody, and they are really pulling it off. Not only that, but they have to be great set movers, moving these blocks around. And just to make things even more difficult, we decided to have them sing a bunch of times. So we've thrown in, as a transitional device, we have them singing some very traditional gospel and songs throughout this play. So they didn't know they were auditioning for a musical, but it turns out that they're doing some singing as well. There's a huge tap dance number. No, wait, that's not we haven't learned that one yet. No, so it's been a lot of fun. I think you're going to see a lot of really colorful characters. It also sounds like we're talking about a very heavy drama, but there's some really great moments of levity in here too, some really nice comic moments too, and they've gotten to bring that out. Everybody has, so yeah.
Well, that's great. Okay, are you guys ready? This is sort of like a lightning round. So you just give the first answer that comes to mind. So we have to give those parameters for Mr.
No
Kathman,
explanation. Yeah.
Okay, you ready? We're going to start with Ben, and we're going to move this way. So what is your favorite word?
Me.
You weren't supposed to do it in character.
Such a diva. Sonder. I found it on the internet. It's like the realization that everyone around you has like really complex lives and long things. It was the internet. I love the internet. And
Mine is duty.
oh my God! You cannot say the word duty around him. We'll just go, duty. And it's the exact same thing every single time. It might be the middle of class or like the circle or something, and he'll do it.
I've had the line duty, and he had to make a bit out of it. He had to. And every time he just
My one regret that this
snickered to himself
He does the
just
same
in the back.
face right now. He does it
play-
every time.
This play doesn't have the word duty in it. I wish it did.
In your 30s, man.
Right.
I don't think that was your answer last time.
No, I've changed it. Yeah, I
That
just
was
realized
great.
that's really my favorite word.
All right, so starting with Ryan and moving the other way.
Oh,
So
no.
what is your least favorite word?
I gotta think of something the kids say these days. I don't know. You know what? I've heard some of my students who do like into weightlifting say swole. That just puts me off. I don't like it. I don't care for it.
Duty, because of him.
I'm gonna say yellow,
Oh.
but it's because I don't like the color.
All right. All right.
We're all
Now,
very mature people right here.
starting with Ben, coming the other way.
Mm-hmm.
What turns you on?
Careful.
I'm going to say the theater.
Great.
Lots of food. I like food. I'm a food person. I'm a pig. This is true.
Discovery, making discovery and seeing people
He
make
makes me
discoveries.
look bad.
All right. Starting with Ryan, going the other way. What turns you off?
Let's say, I think I said this last time. It's just popped into my head. I really didn't prepare this time at all. Ego. Again, either my own or anybody else's. Too much ego.
Meninism. I hate that word. It's so
Oh.
dumb. There's a word for it, but it's a fancy word, but it's not Meninism. I hate that word. I hate the movement. I hate the Twitter account, but you know.
Like a Mennonite?
Like Meninism, anti-feminism.
Oh.
Oh.
Meninism is,
Okay.
Meninism is like a
Being
parody.
a Mennonite, like those lovely Amish people, you just hate them? Like I
don't
don't
hate Amish
understand.
people. No, I hate anti-feminism, and they call
Oh.
it Meninism, and it's so
Fair
dumb.
enough. That's
There's
fair
a
enough.
word for it.
I'm gonna have to say the word vegetables.
It doesn't have to be a word. It's what turns you off? Vegetables?
Yes,
turn you off?
yes they do.
Fair enough.
There you go.
They turn me off too.
You
Fair
guys ever
enough.
eaten squash? Squash is great.
You see, I try not to editorialize
Yeah,
as
that's
best
fine.
as possible. So starting with Ryan and going down.
So glad I'm-
What sound do you love?
It's cheesy. My kid's laughing.
Aw.
Shut up. Not you, my actual children.
I have heard them laugh. They do have infectious laugh. The Star Wars theme song. John Williams' score for Star Wars is just so brilliant. I'm so glad he's doing the new movies. I'm going to stop before I make myself sound
Lightning round.
I'm gonna say that classic Zelda theme song.
All right.
so regretting.
Starting with Ben. What sound do you hate?
Okay, so I don't know if this happens to everyone, but when I'm by like early 2000 TVs, like my ears just start ringing, and it's just like this, and I hate it.
That's going to be a really great skill in college.
Yeah. Wow.
I hate the sound of really quiet talking when you're talking.
You're
I
gonna be a teacher
probably,
someday.
I probably have done it to him before, and I feel really bad for it, but it's so obnoxious. Ugh.
Yeah. I'll just be cliche and say nails on a chalkboard. Yeah, that's gross.
Okay, starting with Ryan. What profession other than yours would you like to attempt?
I'd love it if I was good enough to be an actual musician. I used to be a musician, but like a professional musician. I think that'd be fun.
I used to want to be a storm chaser until I realized, first off, I'm not good enough at math to be a meteorologist, and second off, I'm terrified of storms. But I would love to have the guts to chase tornadoes. I love it.
Physics.
You're doing that.
Yeah, I know, but I don't have an occupation yet, so.
Oh, okay, well, fair enough.
I want to be a physics. Yeah.
Okay, so then Ben, moving this way, what profession would you not like to do?
McDonald's employee. I want to skip that phase of life, go straight into career.
Okay.
Mathematician. I can't do math. He's helped me. He's the only reason I passed through my freshman algebra class, but yeah, math, no. Anything with math.
Yeah, along those lines. Anything to do with finance. I would just be bad at it and I wouldn't like it.
Good to know that my job is safe. All right, here's the final one. Starting with Ryan.
Oh, goodness.
if heaven exists, as is debated in this play,
Right.
what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Charles Darwin is in here. Come hang out and talk.
Come in. I'd just like to hear that.
Here's your gift card. You can buy anything you want.
Retest.
All right, fantastic. Okay, so just in closing, I'd like to give each one of you an opportunity to make a pitch for anyone to come see the show. Give us the dates and your quick pitch. Out to the camera so that we get it recorded. I think you guys feed to this one.
All right.
Okay.
So I'm going to get serious real quick.
Okay.
Hello there. You've just seen me and my fellow castmate and my director give a wonderful talk about this show that we're doing. I would like to say that you will enjoy the show just as much as us, and please come.
Nice job.
Put the glasses back.
Nice job. And scene. Nice.
If I had my glasses on, I would take them off too. But if there's any show that is as relevant today as it was back then, it's this one. It's a beautiful piece of literature, and I like to think that we're doing a good job of it. So come see it. See if it's going to be a train wreck or not, but it's not. It's really good.
Yeah, I would just say that we don't challenge young people enough. I feel like sometimes we kind of dumb things down for them a little bit. There's great children's theater out there, but this is the only play I've done at a professional or community theater level that is a play done with young people, but it's really a play for grown-ups. And so I would really encourage people to come check it out, because you'd be amazed how much they rise to the challenge. It's my philosophy in teaching as well. We've done 2 Shakespeare plays in the time they've been there, and this just kind of continues in that trend. I think it's a great challenge for them, and it's a challenge for an audience, but it's also super entertaining, and it proves that theater can be more than just entertaining. You'll leave thinking and discussing things, and I think that's always pretty good.
Well, no better way to say it. So thanks for viewing. Please come out and see us at Germantown Community Theatre, where we invite everyone to come play.